Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Too gnarly.
Never not gnarly.
Simply too gnarly. Hello, everyone. Welcome to How to Make Social Clips with Descript. I'm Christiana. Our host, our guide for today is my friend Ariel. We're both on the Descript community team, and we're so happy to be here. How are you, Ariel?
I am swell, actually. I turned on the heat in my apartment, and it's first time for the season, and I am cozy.
I love that.
Feeling good. How are you?
I'm feeling cozy as well. I just turned my heat off because I was sweating.
Too cozy?
I was almost too cozy.
Can't have that.
But yeah, you're in New York. I'm in Portland. Folks, please tell us where you're tuning in from. I see I've got some Portland, Pacific Northwest neighbors here with Caesar and Randall. And also, folks, tell us what you make with Descript. We're curious. And yeah, we're going to show you how to make social clips with Descript. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll do some housekeeping and then we'll kick it off. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect. I'm so excited.
Me too. I love social clips. I wrote on LinkedIn that they're my passion. Okay, cool. So how to make social clips with Descript. So first things first, most of you are watching on Crowdcast right now. Use the Q&A section for questions. Our wonderful support hero, Marcelo, is answering your questions today. He is the best and knows everything. So ask those away, and then use the chat for reactions, chatting, commentary. If you ask a question in the chat, we have this magical button that will put it in the Q&A so Marcelo can answer it. So if you're like, what happened to my question? Check out the Q&A. But I'll also be bringing some of those up to Ask Ariel live. So you might get lucky. We'll see. But Marcelo's got your back either way. If we freeze, refresh your browser. That should do the trick. But this session is also recorded and streamed to YouTube. So you can hop over to YouTube if you're having any issues. But we will send the recording in the follow-up email no matter what. If you need more help, check out help.descript.com. I am there every day, many times a day. And it's the best. And then, of course, join our Discord for community support. We've got close to 20,000 people in there, which is very exciting stuff. We would love for you to join us. There should be a little thing you can click at the bottom, but we'll bring up a QR code for you as well. This is our agenda for today. So Ariel is going to walk us through why social clips, why do they matter, and what can they do for your content. We'll talk about audiograms versus videograms, how to select the right social clips, and of course, how to make them pretty and engaging with Descript. And we'll talk about the expected outcome. What can you hope to see from doing this sort of activity? And then, of course, Q&A at the end.
That's
and
right.
Your prize for joining us today, as usual, if you are a new user or a free user and you use podcast 30 at checkout, you get a month of free Descript Pro, just in time for the holiday seasons, you know?
Get yourself a gift, you know?
Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving for 30 days.
Content.
Fine print. But yeah, we just want to hook you guys up with that so you can check out this demo and then do all the things that we show you. And if you scan that QR code, you will get this deal. So that is that. One thing I like to say when we do these specific events is that this is not a Descript 101. It's not our most basic event. We do those at least once a month. So definitely go on YouTube and to our live events playlist. And if you're like, I need the basics first, definitely go check that out. But yeah, we're focusing on social clips today, which is a good time to transition. Ariel, can you tell us, why are we talking about this? Why does this matter so much? And maybe you could also tell us a little bit about your background as a podcaster and how you use social.
Yeah, absolutely. I love social clips. I love audiograms. I love videograms. And I really like making them on Descript. I've made them elsewhere, and Descript is my favorite place to make them. And I'm not just saying that because I work for Descript. I'm saying that because it is the best way to make them. The reason social clips are so important is because it allows you to create a visual component for an otherwise audio only production. So we're here today to talk about both audiograms and videograms. More and more people are recording video alongside their podcast and maybe using that video to create clips for social, or maybe using that video to really put that entire hour-long interview on YouTube. Either way, you can create shorter clips within to post on social. And a lot of times when you're creating shorter clips, you might post them on TikTok, you might post them on Instagram Reels, you might post them on YouTube Shorts. There are a lot of places for you to be posting your short social clips. You can also post them as videos in and of themselves on Twitter or on Threads or on Instagram or on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I could go on all day. I love to keep our conversation as interactive as possible. I know, Christiana, just a moment ago, you asked folks to share in the chat if they are using Descript to make podcasts or using Descript to make videos or whatever it is. I would love to know that. And I would also love to know if you've experimented a little bit with creating social clips for your podcast. And when we say the word social clips, I want to clarify that what we mean by that is could be audiograms, could be videograms, could be something that's not official sounding. It really could just be like a 10-second clip. So today we're going to talk about best practices. We're going to talk about how to make them. We're going to talk about why to make them and all of that. So Christiana, when you come across a social clip, when you're scrolling on social media, what is your thought when you see an audiogram?
Yeah. When I see an audiogram, well, my first thought is, like many people, I will do a lot of scrolling on mute. So if it's got captions, I'm locked in. And if it looks interesting enough, I'm unmuting and listening in.
Getting the whole thing.
Getting the whole thing. Yeah, I discovered one of my favorite podcasts on TikTok. Good Children. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I do know that one.
Yeah, most of they're Brooklyn based. Most of their audience, I think they've acquired just from posting like hilarious short clips on TikTok that were compelling enough to get me to transfer over to Spotify. So yeah, those are some of the things that I think of right away. And Michelle asked, what's an audiogram?
I literally just put that up on the screen because I love that question so much. I love that question so much. So when we say audiogram, it literally, the reason you don't know what it is because it's a made up word. All words are made up, sure, but audiogram is a made up word. Videogram is a made up word. The word videogram, made up word. It comes from Instagram. It just comes from words. And what we mean by audiogram is just a visual representation of something that would otherwise only be audio. So your podcast in and of itself is not something that you can paste on Instagram. It's not something that has a visual component in and of itself. So you need to create a visual component. And whether you record video or not, you can create a visual component out of your audio only podcast. And the way to do that is to transcribe your audio and maybe add some images, maybe add some GIFs, maybe add some emojis, and make it something that might be visually appealing for somebody when they're scrolling on social media. You want to make them stop the scroll, like Christiana said just a minute ago. You want to stop the scroll. You want when somebody is scrolling on social media, especially if they're on mute, you want your audiogram to catch their eye so that they say, I'm going to turn this off mute and I'm going to listen to this podcast, or I'm going to listen to this clip of this podcast. And if I like it, I'm going to then go and search for this podcast on my podcast listening app of choice. So that is your goal when you're creating an audiogram or a videogram. And today we're going to show you how to make those. Perfect. Does that answer your question, Michelle? Please, LMK, let me know.
Michelle said, "Woo, we do audiograms and didn't know it."
Love
I
it.
love when that happens. I love it.
See, that's because it's a made up word. You're probably doing a lot that you don't know.
Yep. That's right. I love making up words. Okay, great. And then a videogram, of course, is the same thing, but it's when you already have video assets. Like if you've recorded on something like Squadcast or and you stick those assets in for social clips as well. Okay, awesome. Ariel, anything else you want to add about like the power of video assets in this day and age for
Yeah.
podcasting?
Yeah, I think so. And I think when I start talking, I'll probably also have more anecdotes to share, or when I start sharing my screen, I'll have more anecdotes to share. But something to keep in mind here is that there have been studies that have come out recently that have said that people are discovering podcasts nowadays by way of social media, by way of social clips, by way of short snippets of your content that people can find just in a quick session where they're sitting down on their couch, scrolling on their phone. They see something that catches their eye. They enjoy the conversation. They enjoy the conversation that's happening right in front of their eyes on this social clip. And they like it so much that they are going to search for it on their podcast listening app of choice. That, like I said, is your ultimate goal. More and more people are discovering podcasts this way. So if you can master this early on, whether you're a new podcaster or somebody who is looking to up their game when it comes to social clips, that will be a great way for you to be introduced to a potential new segment of an audience that might really love you. So I want to know, like I said, how does that square with folks who are watching us live right now? Do you want me to shut off this light behind me? Just let me know. Happy to.
Oh,
don't read the comments, Ariel, while you're presenting. Yeah. So how's this? Much better.
That's great. That's
okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So that I love to know. I think something that really stresses people out when they think about audiograms, videograms is it's yet another step in their production process. Yep. But I think my goal here is to show you that it's fun. It allows you to play around with technology. Yep. You get to potentially meet new audiences, and you get to create assets that you can share with your guests if you're the type of podcast that has a guest. And that might make them want to share, especially if you make them look really great. So we'll get into all of that and much more.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah.
I love Lou. Lou is so great in the comments. Lou says, but audiograms are so easy in Descript. That's true. Check.
I'm like, is it sarcasm? Lou, let us know.
Oh, God, I did not pick up on that. Lou, let us know.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it was. They sent a smiley face after.
Love it.
That's the thing about tone on these things, not sarcasm. Appreciate you, Lou.
Thank God.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate ya. Great. Shall we share screen and get started on some audiograms?
Let's do it.
All right. So I am now going to take you to my Descript drive. And I know it's sort of hard to see right now, but this is, we're in our drive, and I have pre-selected some video templates as well as audio. I pre-selected some videos that I've recorded on Squadcast and some audio that I've recorded on Squadcast. And we're going to go into some of these projects and create some audiograms with the content that exists there. So as I go through them, I'll tell you what that show is about so that you have some context. And I'll also ask you some questions about what you think the audiograms or videograms should look and sound like so that we can sort of figure this out together as we go. So let's first go to an audio only project that I work on. I have a podcast called, we're going to keep this on the web because that's the best way to share here. I have a podcast called Feedback with Earbuds. It's a podcast recommendation podcast that I put out every week. In it, there are 5 podcast episode recommendations, and there is a curator. And there's also usually a sponsor for this podcast. So Christiana is familiar with this because every week when I put out the podcast, I also go into the Discord, the Descript Discord, and I post my audiogram there that I've created for my sponsor. And I say something like, I really love creating audiograms for my sponsors because it acts as added value for the sponsor that is already paying to be in my newsletter and in my podcast. And now I've made this really cute audiogram for them. But I also really like to make audiograms for the people who are curating lists for me and that lend their voice to this podcast. So let's just quickly listen to the intro so that you all are familiar with what the podcast sounds like.
Hey, welcome to Feedback with Earbuds, the podcast recommendation podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Nissenblatt, and I'm the
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Amazing.
founder of Earbuds Podcast Collective. Earbuds is a weekly
the
email
music.
newsletter
Love it.
that sends you a theme and 5 podcast episodes on that theme, and each week is curated by a different person. Anyone can curate a list.
All right.
You can
So
learn
what
more
you just heard here is my always on intro. So I'm probably not going to waste my time creating an audiogram every single week with that same always on intro, but I'm going to find something a little bit further down in our recording this week that is unique to this recording. And then I'm going to create an audiogram with that. This is the way that I like to set up my Descript. I really like to have the waveform below very big, but I'll hide it for now. And what you'll notice as I go through this is that your Descript might look different. The way that you create audiograms might look different. This is the way that I like to create audiograms. So Christiana, if you see something that I'm doing that you're like, you could be more efficient with this, please feel free to let me know. I am
Got your back.
Very open to that. All right,
And
so
audience, let us know
let
your
us know.
workflow hacks.
All right. So I am now going to scroll down to the part where I introduce the curator of this week's issue of the newsletter and the podcast. So let's hear over here.
Our curator is Faye Mickens. In just a bit, you'll hear from Faye about her podcast picks and why she selected them. After that, you'll learn about our Spotlight podcast pick, The
So
Puzzler,
let's
a
skip
show of
ahead to this.
Here are Faye's recommendations for this week's theme, Hip Hop Artifacts.
My name is Fabian Mickens. I am an audio marketing professional specializing in digital content, namely.
So my goal right now is to select a piece that I think is going to catch your eye as you're scrolling on social media. I want it to be something that takes Faye's voice and shows that she is a professional, shows that she is somebody that is really well versed in hip hop, somebody that wants to curate a list for us on hip hop. And I want to show her as an expert in this space. So I want to choose a spot in this recording where she looks really great, she sounds really great, and that I can send to her and that she can use and post on social media with the hopes of people then listening to the podcast who are already her followers. So I am going to take this section here. Here are Faye's recommendations, and we don't want to take her whole 5-minute clip because that's too long for now. We're going to choose something more in the 30-second range. So here we've got her introducing herself and then introducing her and then introducing the theme that she selected. So I'm just going to eyeball this here. And so I've selected that. And now what I like to do is I copy that on my computer. I just got a Command C, but if you have a non-Mac, it'll probably be a Control C. And then what I like to do is go up to the top over here. I hit Enable Multiple Compositions and I hit New Composition. And then I just paste, which for me is Command V, or for a non-Mac would be Control V. Then I'm going to name it up here. I'm going to name it Faye Audiogram. Right. So now we just have this isolated. We have exactly the audio that I want to be working with isolated on a new composition within Descript. So the next thing I would do is I'm going to listen to the whole thing, make sure I like it, make sure that the spelling is correct, make sure that everything looks good to me. So I already see right off the bat that Faye's name is spelled incorrectly. So let's spell that correctly. We're going to spell that Fay''S, and then we've got that fixed. And it looks like we might be having some problems with Crowdcast. So Christiana, I want to just check in with you.
Yeah, I think it might just be on our moderator side. It's the chat is buffering a little bit, folks. So I'm not able to see your messages come through completely. So if you're having issues, join us over on YouTube instead, and I'm going to put that link in the chat. I'm seeing some folks say, did it cut off or did this end? It shouldn't have. So apologies for the technical difficulties. Just jump over to YouTube and we are streaming successfully over there.
If you are here on Crowdcast, please do let us know. I would love to know if I'm not speaking to an empty room.
People are just like, yeah, did this end? But you're not speaking to an empty room. We've got close to 100 folks over on YouTube, so we're good.
Wow. Hello, YouTube.
Shout out YouTube.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're there.
Like
Smash
and subscribe.
All right.
But, yeah, sorry about that, folks.
All right. So now we are in our Faye audiogram. I'm not going to make all of the corrections right now, but if I were making this audiogram to be posted on social media, I would make sure that all my spelling is correct. I would make sure that if I'm spelling hip hop with a hyphen in between, that is consistent throughout. I would make sure that all of my grammar is correct. And once I'm finished with that, I'm ready to make an audiogram. I'm ready to make a visual representation of my audio. So the way that I like to go about this is I go to the top of the screen, I hit templates, I click gallery, and then I navigate over to audiograms. And then I've got a few templates that already exist that I can manipulate to my heart's content. I usually like to select this one on the top right, the basic audiogram, because basic is cool and you can manipulate basic to however you want with all the colors that you want. So right off the bat, I know that I don't necessarily want this to show up here. I don't necessarily need it to say phase audiogram. The beauty of Descript is that I can get rid of that. So I'm just going to click it and I'm going to get rid of it. I also don't need the Descript logo up here because this is not an ad for Descript. It's more so an ad for my podcast, which is called Feedback with Earbuds. So I am instead going to add my own image. And in order to do that, I go up to this bar on the top up here. I click media and I want to add my own file. So I've got this on my desktop. That is my podcast cover art. I'm going to add that in as a layer. It'll default to taking up the entire page. We don't necessarily need that to happen. Instead, I'm going to place it as if it's a logo in the top right corner. And then what I like to do just for aesthetic purposes is I like to round the corners. So I go to layout and then I come over here and I make this into 70. And then I just like to see how that rounds out my podcast cover art over there. 70 might be a little bit too much. So let's go back to 50. And I like what that looks like. So then I want to come in here and I want to change this blue to something that's more on brand for my podcast, which has a lot of purples. So I'm going to, instead of blue, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to change it. And I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to choose this purple. So eyedropper tool, really, really handy. You can choose the colors that you've got on your screen. It doesn't just have to be within here. I can pretty much choose anywhere on my screen, which is really great. Then what I want to do is I could be done right now, Christiana, right? Like this is an audiogram in and of itself, but I can also add some more flourishes. So let's listen to a few seconds of it.
Here are Faye's recommendations for this week's theme, hip hop artifacts.
My name is Fabian Mickens.
So what I can do, because Descript makes it really easy to create different scenes, is after this little zoop sound that shows us that we are now into Faye's podcast recommendations, I can add a photo of Faye. So what I would do in that situation, I actually don't have one on my desktop, so I'm not going to do that right now, but I'll show an example of what that might look like later on. But if you wanted to create something visually appealing within your audiogram, you are absolutely welcome to grab images that exist of your guests, or you can grab images of the things that you mentioned within your audio clip. And I'm going to do that in just a moment, just to make sure that, yes, of course, you can, this is publish ready. This could be good to go, but I want to make sure that it stands out a little bit more than just an audio representation of the show. So another thing that you'll see a lot on audiograms is waveforms. A lot of people like to have waveforms. And so if you want to add a waveform, and I'll show you what a waveform is in just a moment, you can go up here, click shapes and hit waveform. And it'll give me this option of a waveform, and I can extend that out. And then in a moment, we'll see what that looks like. So let's see.
Fabian Mickens. I am an
looks like that decided to be all white. So we don't want that to be the case. Let's instead make it purple.
Miss Fabian Mickens. I am an audio marketing professional.
So you'll see that it corresponds to the different levels in Faye's voice. And if I want to, I believe I can change that waveform to a different type of waveform. If I want, and I can also add a progress bar. So this will show throughout the audiogram how long the audiogram is. So let's put it at the bottom. I'm just now showing you all of the things that you can possibly do. You do not need to do all of these things. You could keep your audiogram very, very simple. You can, of course, change the color of your progress bar, and I'm going to use purple again. So then let's see what that looks
in
like.
Digital content, so namely music and podcasts.
As we go through it, as we get closer to the end, the purple will fade away and the entire progress bar will be white. So Christiana, thoughts right off the bat. Is this busy?
I always kind of like to space out where I have my different visuals. So like I'll always put the progress bar at the top, waveform at the bottom, like just sort of having my different sections for all the different things. But I think it looks great. I love the purple, first of all.
Thanks.
And yeah, I love that you basically got this. Obviously, we slowed it down to do the demo, but it sounds like this takes you like a couple minutes to get it all set up.
Yeah, the very basic version can take you just a few minutes. Grab your file, select the pieces that you want to move over into an audiogram, click the template, change your colors. You can even change your font if you want. You can come up here. Instead of Roboto, maybe I want 30 Pack Girl. Never seen that one before. It also might take a moment for it to download, but it looks absolutely bonkers. And that could be something that stops the scroll. You never know.
Right.
So it's all in service of stopping the scroll. And maybe I shouldn't have done that because it looks like we're buffering for a little bit. So for now, I'm just going to press Command Z in order to reverse that action. But yeah, Christiana, you're right. It can be very short, or it could be something that takes a little bit more time. And so I'm right now going to get rid of some of these elements that I wouldn't necessarily use if I were making an audiogram for Faye for this exact piece of the audio. And instead, I'm going to add in some more elements that I think might make this really an entertaining audiogram if you were to come across it. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. And instead, I'm going to come down here where it says,
The theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts. And what I mean by that is pretty much artifacts as far as investigative or information that's lesser known to.
All right. So before I get into that, I just want to quickly touch on the the waveform piece again, just in case folks have some more questions about how to grab those elements. So like I said, you do not need a waveform in order for something to constitute as an audiogram, but you can add a waveform in order for it to look like an audiogram. So in order to do that, you'd come up to the top menu over here. And when in doubt, this menu is going to be your best friend. So you are going to come up to the shapes, and then you'll click waveform. And then the waveform, it looks like it defaults to white. Yep. So you're just going to want to change that color so that we can actually see it. So make sure you're clicked onto it, and then you'll come over here to lines, and then you can change that color to anything you want. For our purposes, we're going to choose purple, and there we've got our waveform.
It just depends. The theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts, and
then you can
what
see
I mean by that
working
is
for you. And then just one more time, we'll also add back in the progress bar. So it'll default, of course, to this white with gray, and I don't want it to be gray, so I'm going to turn it back to purple. So again, if you want to move that around, just make sure you're clicked into it, and then you can move it around as you please.
Love it. Super cool.
So just to go back, we're now going to delete those because I want to focus on something else, and I don't want it to look too cluttered for this demonstration. So we're focusing on this.
The theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts. And
so when Faye says the theme that I chose is hip hop artifacts, I would love to include some sort of B-roll over that, some sort of images that take our mind a little bit away from just her voice and just the words that are across the screen, and maybe give us something else to look at. So in that situation, what I'm going to do is create another scene. So now you can see on our top left over here that we've got two scenes because I just pressed the / button. And I don't want that scene to be the entire length of this paragraph. So I am going to make it just about this long. So now we've got 3 scenes. So now I click into this new scene, number 2. You can see that it's clicked over here on the side, and I'm clicked into it over here. So we are now going to be focused just on scene number 2. The theme that the scene that says, the theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts. So then I want to add something that's reminiscent of hip hop. So I'm going to go up to the top over here. Again, that bar is your best friend. I'm going to go into videos, and I'm going to search for hip hop. So let's see what Descript has for us by way of hip hop videos. Got a bunch of options here. Let's choose. Anything stand out to you, Christiana?
I'm loving that dancing right there in the middle. Yeah.
All right. So let's see what we've got over here. So it's going to add in our media. And while that's loading, I'll just take a moment to say that that media that we selected is 7 seconds long. So it will be repeating throughout our throughout the scene that we selected, because this is a scene that's a little bit more than 7 seconds. And I'll show you what that means in a moment. So what's interesting about this is it does not necessarily take up the entire length of the screen. So what I can do is I can expand it. And then let's look at what that looks like.
Depends. The theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts. And what I mean by that is,
and if I want to make sure that that Faye's words, that the audiogram, that the transcript is on top of him, all I've got to do in that situation is layer the order, and I want to send this image that I'm clicked on to the back. And that makes it so that this is visible for us. So now let's look at it again.
depends. The theme that I chose was hip hop artifacts. And
He's
what
a
I
great
mean by
dancer.
that is
Amazing.
pretty much artifacts as far as investigative or information
So you can see that after 7 seconds, the video is going to repeat. And then towards the end,
the public or the average hip hop listener. So I chose this
actually, it did not repeat, but I can ask it to repeat. So let's go do that right there. And instead of the duration being once, I can ask it to loop. So now it will loop for the entirety of this scene. So now you'll see that
investigative or information that's lesser known to the public or the average hip hop listener. So I chose.
So then once we're finished with this scene, we move off of it, and then hip hop guy is gone. And if we want to make sure that that transition is a little bit less abrupt when we say goodbye to the hip hop dancer, we can do that. We would just click onto there, and why am I not seeing that possibility? Where's my transition? Christiana, do you know? Oh, there it is. I found
There
it.
you go.
Interesting. So I want to transition it out, and I'm going to crossfade this out so that this is what it looks like.
Average hip hop listener. So I chose this thing.
So that kind of gives us a little bit of an
Looks
off
great.
ramp. Looks great. So then we've got the end of our audiogram, and that's an audiogram. I could, if I wanted to, add some more sound effects. I could add there being video throughout the conversation. I could add images, and that's why I want to make sure folks know that this bar is your best friend. And if you go up here into videos, you can also choose GIFs, you can choose images, you can choose audio. Truly, you can do whatever you want, and you'll get creative as you become more comfortable with this. I want to pause there, and then I'll show you how to publish this, how to export it. But first, Yana, anything in the chat that I should address?
Definitely. Yeah, let's hit on a couple questions here. So Rohan asked, all the B-roll that Descript provides is copyright free, right?
Yes, we contract with a company called Storyblocks that makes it so that we've got access to these, and you can use them as you desire.
Love it. Cool. And Andy, I had the same first.
OMG.
Same first reaction. You can pop a video in. Absolutely. You can. And something I just want to underline, you could also pop your own video in there too.
That's a
You
good
can
point.
use any of the stock videos or images or whatever for your B-roll, but you could also do that with your own content, which is pretty awesome.
Let me just pop in with a note from Marcelo, who, as you said, is our support hero. I love that. Marcelo just said that, back to your question before about the copyright, subscription level does matter for stock media. When you're a Descript Pro user, you get access to everything. Creator and free, you have fewer options, but you still do have access to it. So there are some restrictions, but you should have a lot of options at your disposal.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Great. Some other questions in here. Something I saw earlier back in the chat was asking about templates, and just wanted to underline that you used a template for this.
I did.
Could you take us back to that gallery and just show us how to get there?
Yes.
Just to review.
So let's select another clip. Let's go back to my main composition, to the full episode that we had before. So like I showed you, we selected just this short clip, but let's grab something else from later in this episode. Later in the episode, I talk about our podcast spotlight pick. So that's what this sounds
Now
like.
on to our Spotlight podcast pick. It's a bonus recommendation located at the bottom of our newsletter and on the homepage of our website. This week, we're spotlighting The Puzzler. Finally.
So let's grab that.
Cool.
So this is a clip of me talking about The Puzzler, which is a really great podcast that everybody should check out if you love puzzles and word games. So I'm going to grab that. I copied it. I'm going to create a new composition. I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to call this Puzzler audiogram. And I actually will use these audiograms on social media later. So thank you to Descript for allowing me to do my side job on my job. And if you want to see how those turn out eventually, you can follow me on social media. I'll share those links later. So
Awesome.
what do we do in this situation when we want to create an audiogram and we want to use a template? We go up to, again, the bar that's going to be our best friend. And I want you, everybody who is here right now, every time you click on this, I want you to hear that. I want you to hear this bar is my best friend every time that you go to that bar. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go to your default is that it's going to take you up here to templates. And then you'll see that you've got a bunch of things going on. I like to go into gallery, and you'll see a few things that you can do. You can look on the bottom, in the middle row over here, you've got audiograms, and then it gives you a few options to choose from. I am going to select, let's choose a different one this time. We'll choose this one. Similar, but it comes with an audiogram attached. And for the purposes of this demonstration right now, let's also play around with a different aspect ratio. So say, for example, you wanted to post on Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, which are all vertically oriented. You're going to want to select a different aspect ratio. Right now, this square is optimized for Instagram or even for LinkedIn, but let's choose the portrait view, which is going to be 9:16. It moves us to being vertically oriented, which means that we might want to resize some things. So let's quickly listen.
Now on to our Spotlight podcast pick. It's a bonus recommendation.
So you know what I'm going to say. This is good to go. This is an audiogram in and of itself. It is ready, but it is not branded to my style. It's actually branded to Descript style. So I highly recommend personalizing things a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to do is get rid of this up here. I don't love to have this. I'm also going to get rid of the Descript logo and instead add my own logo. So we'll go up here and we'll go to files, and we already have my podcast cover art here. So we'll add that in, and we're going to resize it. And maybe we're just going to make it take up the whole center over here. I can also change the background of my entire audiogram, and I want it to be actually this color. So I've used the dropper, and I have made it so that my background is now lavender. But I don't like what the blue looks like here. So let's change that to the purple that we were using before. And let's also change this waveform to the same purple. And then it looks good. It's pretty good to go. I could also decide that every time I mention the puzzler, I want that the podcast cover art for the puzzler to pop in. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to add a file, and I've got this on my desktop over here. We've got the puzzler. We'll bring that in. I am doing free press for the puzzler right now. I really hope you all listen to it. So now let's see what this looks like.
And on the homepage of our website, this week we're spotlighting the puzzler. Finally, your daily puzzle fix in audio form, every day in 10.
So that just gives us a little extra visual component and gets you used to what the cover art for the puzzler looks like, so that when you go and search for it, you can recognize it on your podcast listening app. Questions about this?
Yes. Lou asked.
Lou, my best friend who loves Descript.
Yeah, that's right. How do you save the template to use it again?
Yeah, a few ways that you can do that. The way that I have found to do it is that you can right click over here and you can save this to a template. And I am going to create my own new template, and that will now make it so that it's available for me.
Love it. And
Done.
your colors, your font, your
Everything I need.
waveform, everything stays and is in your private personal gallery, which is just awesome.
Just a note to the folks who are watching us on YouTube. Marcelo, who is our support hero, says that he's unable right now to share articles from our help center in the comments section. So just make sure to check out the help center if you have any questions.
Cool.
Christiana, the website for that is?
help.descript.com.
We'd love to hear it.
Awesome. Cool. So we've got 20 minutes left here, and I know you wanted to show off videograms.
Yes.
Let's jump over to that, and then we'll bring up some of these questions that we're seeing here, and we can go from there.
Cool. I will spend some time on creating videograms. However, something to note is that when you make a videogram, you're also creating video. Because if you are taking video from your Squadcast recording and you are editing it, that is something that you could upload to YouTube, or it is something that you could upload as a clip just to social media. So totally up to you what you want to do. I'm going to teach you the principles for creating, for adding transcripts, for adding captions to your video, and you can choose to upload the entire thing to YouTube or just a clip of it. So let's go to this that I've already selected. It is actually, I'm going to be debuting something here that will be launching on December 4th. I have a new daily show that I'm working on with my friend Ned. It's called Ariel and Ned's Daily Tips That May or May Not Help You. It is a very short daily show that every day we're going to do 1 minute. We're going to share a tip that may or may not help you. Self-explanatory. So
Love it.
It will be ridiculous. So let's talk about what that is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ariel and Ned's Daily Tips that may or may not help you. I am Ned Donovan.
I am Ariel Nissenblatt.
Yes, and today, Friday, December 15th, we have a tip from...
All right, so you get the gist of this. Let's skip ahead to the actual tip. Let's see.
We have our first ever visual aid for those of you who...
Let's grab this entire thing and make it into a shorter video.
Cool.
We're just going to grab a piece of it. We're going to grab the piece that leads us into the tip, just because we've got a lot of content to sift through here. And this is not actually edited yet because, like I said, it has not launched yet. So let's grab this. Similar process to before. All we have to do is copy the piece that we want to move into a videogram. And then we can come up to the top over here. We can hit new composition and we can paste it. And that will make it available for us over here. We can call this tip audiogram or videogram. And truly, it is ready to go. You know, lowest common denominator, it is ready to go. Lowest effort, it could be good. But I want to add some captions. And so I'm going to tell you to go to your bar, which is your best friend. And you're going to come up to gallery and you're going to hit, instead of audiograms this time, you're going to hit captions. And I like to choose classic for this one. And that will automatically have our captions pop up for us. And the next thing I'm going to do is brand this to look like the brand that we've selected. And because this show hasn't launched yet, we actually don't have the branding yet for it. But I do know right off the bat that I don't want it to look like the default Descript branding, which is the blue. So I'm going to get rid of this black background. And instead, I am going to, let's use red. And then let's make this, let's make the highlighted word be, let's go with gray or black. So then right off the bat,
hello, everyone, and
we
welcome
are
back
good to go. But I can tell you that my name is spelled incorrectly. So I want to make sure that I correct that. Ariel and Ned's Daily Tips That May or May Not Help You. That is also something that I am going to want to capitalize because that's the name of the show.
Cool.
Today is Friday, December 15th. I am Ariel Nissenblatt, spelled incorrectly. All right, so that is a teaser into that episode of the show. And that is something that I could post to get you to watch the entire first episode of the show. Or it's something that I could grab the entire thing, make the whole tip into a video in and of itself.
Totally.
Christiane, any questions pop up about this?
Yeah, I think I've seen a few requests. Could you show us how you would go about resizing this for TikTok per se in a vertical format? Could we duplicate it and do a TikTok version?
Yes, I would love to.
Cool.
So a few ways that you can go about that. I'm just going to copy it and create a new composition, paste it, and I'm going to TikTok tip videogram. So I bet a few of you are yelling at your screen. Here is what you do for this. Come up to this section over here. It's small, but you'll want to change the aspect ratio and you're going to want to change it into a portrait. And it looks tiny and not so great right now, but we can resize things. So I am going to do a few different things here in order to make this look really nice. The first thing I'm going to do is make me a lot bigger, then I'll make Ned a lot bigger, but I'm also going to cut out some of the pieces in my background that I don't think look so great. So I'm going to crop. And in order to do that, I'm just going to drag the sides in so that it's really just showing my shoulders. We'll also get rid of the globe above my head, and then we'll press done, and then we can make me a bunch bigger.
Nice.
We'll do the same for Ned. We'll crop. We'll press done, and then we will make Ned a lot bigger as well. And then what we can do is actually move the captions to a space between us so that it looks really cool. And then we've got this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ariel.
Ready to go
Ned's
for
Daily
TikTok
Tips that
or
may or may
Instagram
not
Reels.
help you. I am
So
Thoughts,
awesome.
questions?
That's great. Yeah, let's see some questions here. To do a project like this, do we need to start in video rather than audio project?
No, you do not. You can start anywhere and change as you go.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, folks are saying fast and easy. This is what dreams come true look like.
Andy,
Love it.
love to read it.
That's so awesome. And again, just want to underline that Ariel could save this as a template
Let's do that.
and use it again for all of her future TikToks for promoting this show.
So again, in order to do that, I would come up to the scene over here. I can then save it to a template. I can create a new template, and then it is saving for me.
I love it.
And saved. And then if I wanted to access that in the future, I could, let's go back over here and make another one. So let's just grab this random piece. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to create a new composition. I'm going to paste it. And then I can come over to my gallery. And then, oh, look at that. You got that template over there. Do you think I would need to restart in order for it to be available?
It might just be in a different. Yeah, that's weird. Sometimes, yeah, it might just
I'm
be
also on the web
taking a
version right
second.
now, which sometimes is not as robust as our desktop version. Highly recommend being on the desktop version when you can, but for our purposes right now, we are on the web version because it's best for sharing purposes. But yes, that is where you would go ahead and look for your template. But you can see over here that I've saved templates in the past. And one of them is this one that I created for another podcast that I work on. So it'll grab all of those colors and it's applying that template. And you can see that we can shift around and then we could be good to go if that is what we wanted to do.
And I want to call out that pop-up at the bottom that says like this template was what you just exited.
Oops, sorry. My brain is like X out the little thingies. So
that's hilarious. I love that. But folks, if you saw that, it said match orientation, where it would do that sort of resizing for you. Right. Like if your template is saved in a certain format. So that's super handy. Something I wanted to bring up. G. Daniels asked, so was the 2-camera option recorded in Squadcast?
It sure was, yes. That is the podcast that Ned and I record together on Squadcast. And then we download our files. We actually use the Descript connection in order to bring the files right from Squadcast into Descript and then edit.
Awesome. Cool. Sweet. Looking to see if we've got any other questions here. Yeah, so that someone asked, how do you do the split screen? So that would be how you do it. Get those, record on something like Squadcast, get your 2 files, and you can customize how everything looks.
You also can choose scene by active speaker. And that is something really, really useful. So if I wanted the camera to shift to the person who is speaking each time and cut out the 2-person view, that is a possibility. Christiana, I actually have not done that myself. Do you know where to get that on here?
Where to get the change by active speaker?
Yes.
It should, if you click top left, it should AI actions. That bar right there. Yeah, and then search it by active speaker and it should pop up.
So I really love, there you go. So now what it just did, thank you. You're an AI actions genius. Now what it did is it created a ton of different scenes for me. And pretty much every time I speak, my camera will pop up. Every time Ned speaks, his camera will pop up. And I'll show how to do that again because I just learned that. So let's see what that looks like.
Cool.
Going with a yellow for Friday.
Okay.
All right. So we're starting with me. Ready when you are.
Happy Friday, everybody. My name's Ariel Nissenblatt.
Hey, my name is Ned Donovan.
So that looks professional as heck.
Super
I love
cool.
that.
I love it.
And then if you did want to get rid of the active speaker view for only some of the scenes, you could do that just by getting rid of the scene.
Awesome.
And then resizing.
Cool, cool.
Bringing me back in there.
Love it. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left. Is there anything else you want to hit, or should I just rapid fire some Q&A your way?
Let me go back really quickly to my projects and see if there was something that I specifically wanted to touch on. And then go ahead.
We're going to say the same thing, I
bet. You do it. You take the honors.
So just a reminder, folks, Marcelo, the hero that's been in the chat with us, is hosting office hours right after this on Discord. So if you want to actually ask your question to a real human and chat with him. I'm
not a real human.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of like the same thing. But you'll yes, but more like small group Q&A. Marcelo is your hero for that. We can't stop calling him that.
Because he really is. He's a healthcare hero. We banged our pots and pans for him.
I still am doing it every day.
You never gave that up.
So join the Discord and pop in right after that. It'll probably be about 30 minutes long, and you can ask him to show off some of the things that we touched on more in depth, or if you have other questions. He also does office hours every Wednesday, and those are all listed in Discord. So if you join us in there, you should be able to check those out.
We really want you to join us in Discord. It is the best place to go for questions, comments, community as it relates to Descript. So please do scan that QR code and we'll see you there.
Cool.
All right. So I just grabbed myself another audio only piece that I was working on so that in order to answer the rest of our questions for the last 7 minutes of our conversation here, I can do audio only. And if there are video specific questions, I can always switch there.
Perfect. Okay. That sounds awesome. So the first one is more of a feature request that I just want to acknowledge because it's a good one. Can Descript add safe zones for IG Reels and TikTok? It's annoying to make a video and then realize the app's UX is hiding your captions, for example.
That is so smart.
Totally hear you. That is a feature request that I brought up like a week ago. So it's on our mind. Our product team is thinking about it. For now, I would recommend making a video that a videogram that you know is within those safe zones and saving it as a template, because then you can keep reusing it and you'll know that your captions are safe there. But it's a great feature request and we will keep telling our team about it. Okay, great. Now I'm scrolling.
While you're scrolling, I just want to make another call out for folks to, if you are watching us right now on Crowdcast, to answer the poll. You'll see on the right side of your screen that we have 2 questions up there. One is, how helpful did you find the content of this event? And the other is, how likely are you to recommend Descript? So please do us a favor so that we can share with our colleagues that this was an effective event and that we should do more like it. So please feel free to fill that out when you have a moment. Go ahead, Christiana.
Awesome. Cool. This question from 6 Cents Reset. Do video and audiograms use audio from the video or from the transcript?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I believe that it is from the transcript. Descript pretty much uses transcripts for everything. Transcripts are the thing that we base all of our editing off of.
It's completely right. Yep. That's how you get your captions as well. So the
Love
transcript is
transcripts.
it is the core of the editing experience here in Descript. Awesome. Okay, Allison B asked, could you go over how to change the font color of the transcript text really quickly?
Yes, would love to. So let's actually, for this, make an audiogram out of the entire thing. So this is just a 1-minute pre-trailer that I recorded for a podcast that I work on called Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast. Very ridiculous, very meta, very fun. So we're going to go up here and we're going to create an audiogram for it. Again, we went to our Magic Bar best friend. We clicked on gallery, we clicked on audiograms, and then let's choose this template for this one just to change it up a little bit. So it's going to apply that template for us, and then we will change the colors for you. So again, I don't want these colors. They are way too descripty for my project that is Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast. So what I am going to do first actually is upload the cover art for my podcast, because what that will allow me to do is use the eyedropper tool to pull those colors from. So I'll add that layer. I'm going to resize it. I'll move it, delete this Descript one. Oops, I deleted the wrong thing. I'll delete the Descript image. I'll put this on the top right. And then I want to start changing some colors. So I make sure I'm clicked onto the right element that I want to change the color for. Right now, I'm going to change the background color. So instead of this blue, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to change it to this green. And I am also going to then look and see what color they have.
For Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast.
My captions. I don't want them to be white. I want them to be pink. So I'm going to click into my captions area and I am going to customize the color there. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool again to select this pink color. And you can see here that I also can choose any color under the rainbow. I could go and I could type in a different hex code. I could use one of the preset colors. Totally up to me. For our purposes, I am going to select the color from this Trailer Park podcast cover art. I'm also going to extend this because when it's only showing me 2 words at a time, that is not how I like it. So I'm going to reset that. And I am also going to, if I want to, I can get rid of this if I want, or I can change the color of it to, let's go with this darker purple. So a lot of options there.
I love it. Cool. Okay, we're getting close on time here, but I'm just going to bring up this last question and then we can close out. Can you touch on crossfading and fading out audio?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Great question. So for this, the way I like to do it is I like to go into my waveform. I like to extend it pretty large. And then I like to get into a piece here. So let's take a listen.
To get you back to the park? Huh?
I like it. In a few weeks, we'll drop an official trailer.
So say I want to get rid of this in a few weeks just to make a cut. So just...
I like it. We'll drop an official trailer.
Right now, that cut sounds pretty abrupt to me, and I want to make it sound less abrupt. So in order to crossfade something, I want to hover over one of my audio boxes and grab this little white dot. And if I want to crossfade it, I extend it back into the past piece over there. And then you'll see that this will be crossfaded, or you'll hear that this is crossfaded. So let's listen to that.
I like it. So we'll drop an official trailer.
So it's very fast, but it has one of the pieces leading into the other. And then if I wanted to instead fade into this next piece, I do the same thing. I grab this little white dot over here and I drag it this way. And I can do that as long as I want, or as intense. It could be a very intense, quick fade, or it could be a long fade over a longer period of time. So
we'll drop an official trailer of our show.
You can hear there that over time, the audio gets louder.
Perfect. Cool. Ariel, thank you for answering those rapid fire round questions. I know we didn't get to everybody's questions, but again, office hours right after this with Marcelo in Discord. Scan that QR code, or I just put the URL in the chat, but it's just discord.gg/Descript, and you will join there. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Again, grab some free Descript Pro for a month on us. There's that QR code, or just use podcast 30 at checkout. This event is recorded, as are all of our events. We do all kinds of different office hours and things like that are recorded on YouTube, as well as long form tutorials like this. So go check those out in the live events playlist. Anything else I'm missing, Ariel?
That's it. Go to Discord and hang out with Marcelo. Get your questions answered. If you have a specific question for me, feel free to get in touch with me, Ariel@Descript.com. Christiana, thank you for taking control of this conversation. It was really great.
Of course. And sorry again, folks, for the issues with Crowdcast.
We're working on alternatives.
We're working on that stuff.
Yeah.
But we had fun with you in YouTube. And one last thing, Ariel, where can people find all of these podcasts you work on?
If you Google my name, Ariel Nissenblatt, you'll find everything. ArielNissenblatt.com has links to all of the things that I work on. You can find my socials there and see some of these audiograms in the wild.
Yep. Check them out. I know I'm seeing them and I'm liking them on Twitter. So join me, friends, and join us at a future event. We do these every week and we can't wait to see you soon. All right. Bye.